DP. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, okay, sir. Okay, sir. Sir, now I request you to please start the session.
Okay, just one second. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen?
No, sir.
ये वही है क्या उस दिन प्रॉब्लम हुआ था शेयरिंग का स्लाइड्स नहीं आ रहा था ना बहुत रेजोल्यूशन का
वही सर क्या
पता नहीं
No, sir.
Oh,
We
still
cannot.
not visible?
No, sir.
मानते भी नहीं
Why this is not showing me? Can you see now? Not visible, na?
No, it's not visible, sir.
हम
सर बोल भी नहीं पा रहे
So there's some problem. I don't know why it is showing some problem.
sure,
The
sure.
screen.
ओके सर ओके
Sir, your camera is working, right? I mean, we cannot see you,
No,
only
I
we
can.
can hear you.
No, I have switched off the camera, but
Okay, okay, okay. No
was-
problem, sir.
uh,
So, sir,
now,
share. I mean, the
yeah,
share button is not working. Or
yeah, I'm sharing, but somehow it's not.
शेयर
Can you see
क्या
it?
बोले
Now I can see the share from my side.
दादा
Coming?
दिख रही
no, sir, it is not visible to us.
I don't know. There's some
Uh,
problem.
ले करके वापस
We'll be able to see the content on the
वो
screen.
बोल दे
वो फिर
Okay.
कर्नाटक
Chrome
होता है
tab.
वो आपके पास फोन आएगा आप बोलो
Yeah, so I can now I can click from here, share, but I don't know why this is not. You are not able to see it.
नेट खराब है सर आपका मानते नहीं है ना वो
Can you see it now?
no, sir.
I don't know. There's some problem. Micro MS team problem in. I don't know why.
बोल देगा तो आपकी एक बार सर लॉग अप करके
Uh,
वापस
what to be done? So
Sir,
I'm sharing.
sir, you can rejoin, sir, once again, sir, so that maybe.
sometimes it works
Actually, MS team. I'm the first time having this kind of problem because I always use this MS team.
you
I
can
don't know
share
why.
the slides with Deepak sir he will share ना
No, still not able to see it.
No, sir, no.
Okay, let me.
it's not
not in this meeting
okay yes sir
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
from the sir side only sir his side only no problem in teams
सीधी में प्रॉब्लम तो सभी नहीं कर पाते
हाँ आप भी प्रेजेंट कर पा रहे यू आर डूइंग इट ना सर इन द इवनिंग एवरी डे sir can rejoin and unshare and reshare or you can share your slides with you and you can also try na sir that also an option like if he is unable to sir तो join कर लिया he is already present take slides and you try to present, sir. Otherwise,
Hello, am I audible to you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Okay, now let me share it again.
Yes,
So
sir.
you see me or not? Let's see. Just 1 second.
share new link is good. नहीं होगी ना?
Can you see it now?
इसलिए वाला जो ऑडियो इनपुट कैप्चर में रखता नहीं अभी इसको मैंने
Now can you see it?
मैंने मिस
Yes,
कर
yes,
दिया
sir.
आना
Yes,
तो
sir.
नहीं करूँगा
Visible, sir. Visible, sir. Thank you.
You will?
Please
Okay.
start, sir. Visible,
Okay.
sir.
Huh. Now I can. Yeah.
अब नहीं आ रही
So please let me know if you are not able to see. So
Yes, sir.
नहीं आ रही है
yeah, shall I start?
Yes, sir. Please start, sir.
Okay. So in my introductory lecture, I was talking about uh, at the interface of medical imaging and AI. At the same time, in my first lecture, I told you that most probably you will see all the lectures where all the expert will talk about that how we are using AI to solve some medical problem. But at the same time, I told that we need to see this problem in the both ways. And that day also, I highlighted that the biggest thing is in research is to define a big goal. What do you mean by big goal? So the big goal is to find out a big research question. If you can find out the big research question, then even if you spend your whole life, still you won't be able to finish all the questions what is present over there. So let me take you through a very interesting, journey I come across. When I was a student, and then how I came to this domain of medical imaging and AI. So here, I'm just showing you one problem. So many years back, I started one work on the spinal cord injury patient. So that time, the main goal in my life is to that if I want to do something or if I'll do some research, I'll do for the human being. And then I try to find out a very good problem. I visited different hospital, and then I found a problem called the spinal cord injury problem. What you can see here on my screen, this is a spinal cord, and it comes from the cervical, thoracic to lumbar and the sacral. You can see these are the different regions of the vertebra. We call these are the vertebra, C1, C2, C3 like this. And if there is any injury in any of this vertebra, the person will lose that function. You can see here, left side I'm showing you some vertebra, and the right side I'm showing you the different region, which is connected to different parts of the human body, right? And if somebody is, affected, or if somebody is, or any of this region is injured or affected, then that person will lose that function. Sometimes the whole spinal cord get injured, or maybe some part of the spinal cord get injured, and accordingly, the person will be disabled, right? So when I visited a hospital, I'm just talking you the story from 20 years back. So 20 years back, more than 20 years back, when I visited the hospital, out of all the problems, I found this is a very interesting problem. As I told you that in my last lecture, I highlighted you. I talked about 5 different important points of healthcare or AI in healthcare. I talked about I talked about the curative medicine. I talked about the predictive medicine. I talked about the diagnostic. I talked about the rehabilitation or assistive. I talked about prognostic. and I talked about the curative, all the 5 important pillars of the healthcare. So this one, which I'm going to talk, it's called the assistive or rehabilitation. So here, why this problem is very important? This problem is important because I felt that, let's say somebody born all right, and all of a sudden due to some accident or due to the gunshot or any kind of or fall, the person will lose some of its function, the paralysis, right? And nobody can tell you, or nobody can tell the patient whether the paralysis person can cure completely or can recover some of its function or not, right? So that's why this is a very big problem. And then I thought, let's say if somebody led the normal kind of life, and if somebody is affected with this kind of problem, then how we can assist in their life, or how we can help them in their life. So that time, I thought that can I develop some kind of engineering techniques by which I can assist or help this kind of individual. And then I thought that, okay, is it possible to map some of their residual ability to different functions or different control signal? And accordingly, I developed few gadgets, right? So these are the gadgets what you can see here. These are called the technological interface. That means you can see here the person who is, the lady is here. You can see my cursor. The person is completely disabled, but paralyzed, but still he can give or she can give the blow. Okay. So I thought, can I convert this blow into control signal? So in that, using this blow, the lady, you can see here the blue color. This is a sensor, which will just blow, which can activate different gadgets at home, the electronics gadget, and the person can easily control, right? So likewise, that time I met one boy from Bihar who was also disabled, and he met an accident. His family met an accident when they're on the road, and the person that the school boy lost his function to control the hand. And you can see here, he requested me that is it possible to develop some kind of interface for these kind of people, those who have limited hand movement. So you just imagine, so let's say if you're a computer savvy or if you're a tech guy and you want to type something in the computer and you cannot open your hand, how would be your life? So for that, actually, I developed one touchpad. You can see here, pipe touchpad with keyboard. So where, also I developed the GUI software by which they can just touching the keypad, they can control, they can do everything in the computer, right? This is called the touchpad. Likewise, I also developed another gadget which is called the EOG device. So from the eye, the last organ which is being affected with by different kind of problem. So I thought that, if somebody is paralyzed, but still the eye is moving, can I convert this eye movement to the control signal, and I can generate more than 100 control signals by which I can control the movement of my wheelchair. Let's say if I'm in the wheelchair, I can move the wheelchair movement, or if I am at home and I want to control the different gadgets, I can do it. And or if I want to display some message, then also I can display the message. Let's say I'm not able to speak and I want water, and if my parents will not understand that I want water, they will not give me, right? So the question is, by eye movement, can I express what I want? Or if I can display, I want water or I need medicine, according to somebody's give. So these are the 3 assistive technology I developed. And of course, these are the different things I'm just showing you. But when I developed all this assistive technology and we used to go to the hospital to test on the patient, I found, of course, the patients are very happy, but at the same time, because as an inventor, you know what are the lacuna in those devices. And the lacuna was, all these devices I explained to you, these are all learning based. That means you need to learn how to use this device, right? So one question came to my mind, that if somebody cannot learn how to use the device, they cannot use it in their benefit. So the question comes that, is it possible that I can make this device intelligent, or if it is possible, I can give some intelligence to my device so that instead of the patient to learn how to use the device will know what is the need of this person and accordingly it will behave, right? And which comes in the domain of artificial intelligence. So you can see, so here just one thing I would like to highlight you, that I look at this problem, not a healthcare problem, but in the other way, I thought that how I can make this device intelligent so that it can learn the need of the people and it can behave, right? And that time I found there is no significant development in the domain of AI. And when I started learning or reading or understanding the domain of AI, I found that there is another way that I can do some development in this domain if I can understand how the brain works, right? And that time I joined a very interesting. I started one interesting project uh, because my need was to learn how the brain learns. So I'm taking you to a very big problem. And this is called the blindness problem of India. So you know that you can see this figure here. 1 in every 100 Indians are blind. So the blindness is the blind children in India is more than nearly. I mean, nearly if you see the incidence, then it would be nearly half of the whole blind population that live in India. And these are the major causes: the corneal scarring, cataract, retinal dystrophy, infection, and congenital rubella syndrome. So you must be thinking that all of a sudden, from the assistive technology, why I came to this kind of problem, blindness. Let me just highlight some of the thoughts behind it. So that time, as I told you, that I wanted to understand how I can create a device which can learn and it can understand the need of a person, right? So when when this kind of thought came to my mind, the first question came to me is, as a human being, how we learn to see, how we started understanding this visual world, right? So in the morning when you wake up, you see this beautiful world, but who is showing you, or how your brain or eye is understanding this mechanism, and which is the core part of the intelligence? So this question came to my mind, and then I thought that, okay, is there any answer in this domain? Let's say if I'm going to develop a computer vision system which can understand any of the scenes, or which can understand any of the object the way the human understand, right? But I found there is no significant development in this area, right? So I thought that why this area is nobody has done research in this area. Then I found that, okay, if you need to do research in this area, you need to work on a newly born baby. Let's say after the birth of a baby, if you're tracking how the brain is developing, most probably you can understand some of the mechanism of the intelligence. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So yeah, I thought that maybe I'm getting the call from your side. So then we realized that okay, the first thing is I told you that we need to work on a newborn baby, but before going to work on any human or any biological object, you know that you have to take the ethical clearance, and the ethical committee will not allow you to touch a newly born baby, right? So the other way is, let's say you can tell that, okay, we can do research on a grown-up person, but the grown-up person already learned this world. You cannot get any kind of insights about visual learning, right? So that's why these two. And third is, even if the ethical committee will allow you to do research on a newly born baby, but the baby cannot understand, or they don't understand what you're going to do. So that means you will not get reliable data, right? So the question is how we can do this research. So that's why one question came to our mind, that is it possible if somebody born blind and being blind for several years, let's say 20 years, has not seen anything, and if we can restore sight to these people, then most probably they will give enough opportunity to us to understand this kind of mechanism. And that's why I'm just talking about the blindness, right? And the children born blind because of all this problem, corneal scarring, cataract, retinal dystrophy, infection, and congenital rubella syndrome. And you must have heard the age-old, many old people suffer with the cataract, right? But in the same time, when a child takes birth with cataract, they also destined to be blind. And because of this problem, nearly 40% of all the childhood blindness in India is either preventable or treatable, but due to the lack of knowledge or the lack of expertise, so we are not able to treat this kind of children. When the child takes birth, and when the child takes born as a blind child, the lifespan is 15 years less compared to the normal counterpart. Again, when somebody born blind, the 50% of these children, they don't get a chance to celebrate their second birthday, because that means they die. And of course, when they take birth as a blind child, the education prospect is very less, as well as the employment prospect. So you'll be surprised to know that because of this blindness, India is losing more than 25 billion US dollar every year. It's a huge loss to the economy like India. So the big question is it possible to restore sight to these children? And if so, but whether these children can be, I mean, we can restore the sight or not. Actually, this is based on this Nobel Prize winning hypothesis. This is called the visual learning, right? And which is subject to the critical period. So these two gentlemen you can see here, David Hubel and Torsten Wiesel, who got Nobel Prize in 1981, they gave a very interesting hypothesis to the domain of medical science, which is called the critical period. And they published many papers in the Science, Nature kind of journal. But the study says, what they says, that let's say today you took birth, and after the birth, I'll keep you in a dark room. But in the dark room, I provided you food, drink, everything for your survival. But let's say after 1 month, it will bring to this outside of this room. By the time, you may not be able to see this visual world. You might, lose your vision, right? So that means after the birth, the neuron gets specialized depending on the different kind of inputs you receive. So if somebody has not received the visual input, that means the neuron responsible for the vision will be used for some other purpose. And that's why if somebody born blind has not seen anything since birth until the age of 2 years or 5 years or 10 years, they will hardly get back the sight. And this was based on this hypothesis given by these two gentlemen. But when we came across this kind of hypothesis, that means there is a roadblock for us. We cannot do this kind of study. But in the same time, we found a ray of hope. What we found, all of the study, all this time, two Nobel laureate or the other people, the big scientists in the world that studied, they've done all the studies on the animal. So for us, one question was that what about human, right? And we started a project called Project Prakash, which is a humanitarian scientific project, and which is one of the best project in the world. Project Prakash. Project Prakash means to bring the light in the lives of the blind. It's called the Project Prakash. Prakash is in the meaning of the Sanskrit. And here what we do humanitarian mission. In the same time, we answer many questions, scientific questions. At the same time, this help us to advance the domain of AI. So we have so last more than 20 years we are working this domain. So we have a lab in Delhi. So we do outreach. We have a big team. They go to the different parts of India like Rajasthan, UP, Haryana, Jharkhand, and then we screen all the children, those who are born blind and to whom we feel that we can restore sight to them. We bring them to Delhi. We provide them treatment and we do research, and we finally we provide them the education because they are all blind children and they have not been to school. So doing all this thing, we get enough opportunity to address many interesting problems of the medical science. At the same time, that kind of understanding help us to advance the domain of AI. So, of course, I know that in this lecture series, many people have talked about how they're using AI or machine learning to advance or to understand the medical problem. But it would be good for me to tell you that how we are using the same thing to advance AI. So let me just highlight a few of the things, and I'll not go into details. So we provide the treatment to these children, and then we do research and try to understand how vision develops after sight onset. But the big question is whether vision develops after sight onset. Because this question is because we are going against this Nobel Prize winning hypothesis. That means we are challenging two Nobel laureates. So the big question is here you can see in this picture, one is 8-year-old boy and another is 22 years old person. Based on the critical period hypothesis, that means these two persons will not get back their sight. That's why I've written in the brain level, is the brain plastic enough to make use of information from eyes later in life, and behaviorally can we see the benefit these children will get after their surgery. So we do many different kind of experiment from the brain imaging using this MRI, fMRI or EEG, many computational experiment, and we try to answer many fundamental questions of the science, that how brain learns to see or how the intelligence develops in the brain, right? So I'm not going to details. Here I'm just showing you one very big problem here. I don't know how many of you know this problem called the prosopagnosia. Prosopagnosia is a neurodevelopmental problem. As I told you in my first lecture, that out of all the healthcare problems, any problem related to the neurons are devastating in nature. That means there is no cure. So prosopagnosia is one of the problem also devastating in nature. There is no cure until now. That if somebody is suffering with this kind of problem, they cannot recognize the face. So they can recognize that they can hear the person or they can see the face, but the face looks very blurry in nature. So the big question is why this is happening. You must have heard autism. Autism also, the people that you suffer with autism, they also, they don't, I mean, have this eye to eye contact, or they don't look at the face. So the question is why they don't look at the face. So first of all, for this problem to solve, we need to understand which is the region of the brain is helping us to recognize the faces or helping us to have the social interaction, having faces in front of us, right? So in this project, I mean, the working with these blind children, we try to understand which is the region for the faces. So there are many scientists, big scientists around the world. They've addressed many this question in a different way, but there is no tentative answer. And you know that the brain processes all this information in a very particular fashion. But we found that there is the area which is already, we knew that the FFA area is responsible for the faces, but we found a very dramatic change in those areas. So using this kind of study, what we found, I'm just showing you here, when the child start learning the human faces, the region of this, the face area is changing. It's a very dynamic in nature. You can see here, this is the area which I'm showing you in my cursor. You can say this is called the visual ventral pathway. So the area, the activation area, you can see this changing with respect to time, 2 days, 1 month, 4 months, and 10 months. But what we found that mostly the gross area of this facial region is this area. So we found in some cases they're monotonic in nature. In some cases this learning is non-monotonic in nature. But still we are trying to find out which is the area. So we found that this is more dynamic in nature. And then actually this paper is under review in Science. And I'm not going into details. So from many experiments, what we found that we found that even if the child age or the person age already passed this critical period hypothesis, but still they are able to see the visual world when we restore sight to them. So when, I mean, as I told you that we went against a Nobel Prize winning hypothesis, but we proved that yes, the brain can relearn again. So until now we proved that even until the age of 30 years, the person those who are born blind can see. So you can see here, we have restored sight to more than 700 blinds in India, those who are born blind, but now they can see. So not only the same miracle, but in the same time, this kind of problem is helping us to give many new hypotheses to the domain of vision science. And the same time, it is helping us to understand the perception, the visual perception in a very better way. And understanding the mechanism of perception is the so here I'll just highlight some of the very interesting problems. Let me see if the problem is here. So I'll talk about just 1 second. Let me see. Let me change my slide. I hope I'm audible to all of you.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Hello?
sir. Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
So, just 1 second. Let me share the screen again. Okay, I'll see. Just 1 second. Can you see my screen again? Can you see it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so I was in the other presentation, I was here in the slide. So what we found from all these different kind of experiment, as I told you, from the brain imaging to the many computational experiment, we found the brain can learn, right? That's why I've written this, is the brain plastic enough? We found, yes, the brain is very plastic. And the second thing is that we could see behaviorally that the person is able to see. So here I'll just pose another very interesting problem of color perception, which is at the interface of both medical science and AI. So you know that we are very good in understanding the color, right? But do you know this interesting aspects about the human understanding? So when we started a newly born baby, so just like you and me, when we took birth, that time we are not able to see any color. So only that time our vision is only achromatic in nature. You can see here the newly born baby, the vision is like this, the left side picture, and as we start or getting older and older, our vision would be the adult like, where you can see the color. That means we are adding the addition of the colors is getting, I mean, as we progress along our age, right? This is how the normal development takes. And in the same time also, you will see that the newly born starts seeing this visual world in a very blurry kind of vision. And this is very, very essential to develop the robust vision what we achieve today. So let me just highlight some few things about the eye. You can see here where we see something, let's say R, right? R is projected on the eye, and from the R only the rays of light is entering to the eye. You can see here, and this is falling on the back part of the eye, which is called the retina. This back part is called the retina, and there is a fovea. You can see the fovea moving my cursor, and from here, actually the light energy is getting converted to the neural energy, and it is passing through this optic disc and through this optic nerve it is going to the brain, and finally you see the things. But here in this fovea, you can see the fovea contains the photoreceptor. You know that cones and rods, cones help us in the daylight vision and rods help us in the night vision, right? So that means the cones are responsible for the color perception that we've studied in the school. So if you look at, let's say if I'll take a section, cross section of this fovea to see how the cones and rods looks like, which helps me in the color vision. This is what you can see. So the left side picture, I mean, you can see at the cones, this is a newly born cone. That means when a newly born child take birth, that time if I'll measure the cone looks very fat, right? But in the adult, the cones are very thin in nature. And if you look at the lattice, in case of the newly born, the cones are not tightly packed, whereas in the adult, the cones are very tightly packed. You can see the difference, right? And at the same time, what happens? So when we start our journey from a newly born baby, or let's say from 1 day to, let's say, it's 8 months, 9 months, or 10 months, or 10 years, or 60 years, with respect to the maturation of the cone, then what happens? The chromatic information get added. This is the natural process of adding the color scheme to our brain. So interestingly, what we found, let's say here I'm just showing you some picture, some color picture and the black and white picture. Let's say if I'll ask you just presenting this black and white picture or the color picture, you can easily tell all of this object, right? This is because our vision is very robust in nature and we can easily classify these images. So these are the actually pictures I took from this ImageNet database. And then what I did, I tested these images with, I mean, both gray and color images with the control. I mean, the control means, let's say, the same age match person who is not, I mean, who is completely all right, and with the children those who are born blind to whom we restored sight, right? So here in this picture, I'm showing control means those who are completely all right, and Prakash participant means the person who was born blind to whom we restored sight. So what we found for the color versus gray, for the control, they're equally. You can see they're both same. But in case of the newly sighted children, what we found, they're very good in color recognition, but not good in the grayscale. So this is a very big question for us. That why? Of course, I mean, when somebody has not seen anything, and when they will see the color images, because the world is colorful, that is a very big thing, good thing, right? But at the same time, when I realize they cannot recognize the grayscale images the way they recognize the color, we found why this is not happening. So that time we didn't know that why this is happening in the brain. This is very big fundamental scientific questions. And you can see here, this is, I'm just showing you the mean of, I mean, the Prakash means the children that you are born blind and we restore sight, and this is the control. You can see the difference. So in order to understand this mechanism, we did some kind of study here. I'm just showing you that here in this picture, you just look at. So when you start our color perception, this is the color scheme, the left side. You can see neonates initial colors. Neonates means the newly born. And then the last one is Prakash child initial color experience. That means to whom we restore sight. Now, let's say somebody born blind and being blind for last 20 years. Now he is a 20 years old person and we restore sight to him. And now he can see the color, right? So now the thing is that in case of these blind children, with respect to their aging, the architecture or the infrastructure of their eye has already developed. At the same time, the children never received the systematic chromatic inputs, right? And all of a sudden, we allow them to see at this age here, and that's why they are good in color perception. But the question is here, that's why I've written this question: why do Prakash children, Prakash means this children to whom we restore sight, show a significant drop in performance when color information is removed? Our hypothesis is starting with rich color images makes the visual system reliant on color. Hence, it performs poorly with grayscale images. So, in order to understand this thing, what I did, we took a AlexNet network, and then we created this training paradigm. You can see here, this is the training paradigm we use from this image net database. What we did, first, we created this training data sets. You can see here, this is the first half training, this is the second half training. In the first half training, in the first set, what we did, color to color, C to C means color to color. That means initially we took the color images, and then in the second half, we took again the color images. This is color to color, right? Then we took gray to gray. That means the first half we consider the gray image, second half also we consider the gray image, and we trained the AlexNet. In third case, gray to color. That means we first half of the training is by the gray images, and the second half is the color images. And the last one is color to gray. That means we trained with color images, second half we trained with the gray images. So out of all these 4 training paradigms, the gray to color, you can see third one. This is the natural way of learning. The way we as a human being, when we start our journey, we start learning with this grayscale. That means when we start, as I have shown you before, that we start recognizing this world with the grayscale, then slowly we get the chromatic information, finally we develop the color scheme. But in case of this newly sighted children, this is the color to gray. That means they started with the color scheme, right? And then when you tested what we found, you can see, you'll be surprised to see that in this case, actually what you see in the x-axis, we have hue rotation, and in the y-axis the performance. So that means when there is 0 rotation, you can see the performance is nearly 100%. But as you started rotating, that means the hue rotation there, then you can see the performance is coming down in case of color to color. But in case of gray to gray or gray to color, you can see in any kind of hue rotation, still the classifier is giving the good accuracy of classification, 80 nearly, ceiling level classification. So then what we found, that in case of when the machine is trained with gray to gray or gray to color, then there it is robust in any kind of hue rotation, right? So here from this study, what we found, the conclusion is human data and computational results suggest that initial experience with achromatic input is useful for reducing the reliance on color cue. That means in the natural way, the way we started our color learning, that means we started with the grayscale and then we get the color scheme. This is good for the robust learning purpose. And the impact is, this help explain clinical data, also provide insights into why normal development process in the way that it does and suggest a way to improve the performance of AI system. Generally, those who work on the AI without understanding how the natural intelligence or the natural system work, what we do, we just train our system with all these different kind of color and grayscale images, and we try to make the AI system intelligent. But this is a very interesting way. You can see here, not only we restore sight to the blind, but also we understood the mechanism of the color scheme learning. In the same similar way, when we created the network or we trained the network, we found the network is very robust. So this is what I'm talking about, the two-way or the both way or the bidirectional learning purpose. That means using AI, you can understand many interesting problems. Just like in my first lecture, I also explained you that how we are using AI to detect the epilepsy seizure. I played one video, you remember. But today I presented to you that not only that we can do, but at the same time understanding the healthcare problems or medical diagnosis, it will also help you to advance the domain of AI. I hope you understood. And of course, I mean, there are many examples. I'm not going to give, I mean, or explain all this thing, because here I just written a model for autonomous engineering inspired by human and external data. That means you know that in the AI today, those who are working the AI, many times you feel that, oh, AI scientists, why they need to learn the healthcare? But I'm telling you, if you're good in healthcare, you can truly contribute in a very big way in the domain of advancing the AI. Just like here, I'm just giving the example. Maybe I've shown you this picture earlier, that when the child is holding the mobile phone, how the child predict the visual appearance of this object based on its touch. Okay. So the question is here that how the child, when he's holding the mobile phone, we get some visual features like V0 to VN, and the same time the child is holding the mobile phone from the touch, we are getting the haptic features like H0 to HN, and how the brain is establishing the map between H0 to V0. And this is one of the crucial hypothesis or crucial science behind understanding the science of intelligence. And if you can understand, you can advance the domain of AI. So likewise, there are many interesting problems there. So where you will answer all this big question, of course, everything will follow you. Likewise, this problem which I mentioned to you, we answer one 300 years back question which are not answered in the science. We first answered working with these blind children, and it published in Nature. And the day it published in Nature, it got highlighted in the New York Times. The first page of the New York Times was given to our work, that the Indian blind children answer the question of 300 years back, which is not answered by any scientist. So likewise, also, I mean, our work at the interface of advancing the healthcare and advancing the AI, we publish, I mean, the color perception, which I explained just now, that published in Science the last year, in 2024, we published that work in the Science. As well as we have many papers in Nature, Times Magazine, Harvard MIT News. We have many articles which talks about the health as well as the AI. And you can see here, this is one of the pictures from my lab, where the Geo magazine from Germany, they visited my lab to cover some stories that how we work at the interface of the natural intelligence and the artificial intelligence. And of course, here you can see the happiness comes from this kind of picture. You can see the left side picture when the child came to us, when the child was blind. You can see the big, very white, you can see cataract, and because of that, the child was born blind. And when you restore the sight, when the child start learning this visual world, this is the picture. So this is the kind of impact as a healthcare professional or as a healthcare scientist or a AI in healthcare professional, we can have the impact on our society. So that's why I call that that illuminating science, illuminating lives, you can illuminate science. And in that way, you can have a broader impact on your society. So this is the few, I mean, one or two examples I gave, but there are many examples. So this problem, as I told you, that the problem should be very, very big. So the problem which I started 20 years back, even I feel that even if I'll spend my whole life, I want to be able to answer all this big question of the science, and the same time, all answering all this question or helping the humanity, we can advance the domain of AI or the autonomous learning. So thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer all of your questions.
Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful talk. So I hope participants have at least got motivated from some of the work Professor Gandhi has mentioned, I mean, highlighted. And at least you should understand the impact of the research, I mean, work which is which we are actually conducting. So very, very important. So if you are having any queries, participants, you can write your queries in the chat box so that Professor Gandhi can check and he'll be happy to answer your question. What was the exact role of AI? Sir, you can just click on the chat box.
Yeah, I just checked. Let me see. Okay.
There is one question by Pooja Soni.
What was the exact role of AI, or in what way was it used in restoring the vision of the children, sir? Okay. So here AI is not helping to restore the vision. So actually we are restoring the vision. So mostly whatever I've shown to you, These are first I mean, they are all by birth cataract blind. We remove the lens and we introduce the artificial lens. But here, AI is helping us. I mean, let's say you know that the MRI machine which I am showing you will get thousands, I mean, many thousands of images in a single experiment, right? So what AI is doing, AI is helping us to understand or to find out the pattern out of all these images and to tell what is happening or what is the architecture of the brain or how the brain is learning all this concept, which I didn't, I mean, present here. Okay. So that AI is helping, right? But at the same time, what I telling you here, so understanding this crucial information of how eye and brain is working, we can also advance the domain of AI. So this example I gave you right now. But as I told, that AI is helping us to analyze all this big data to find out the pattern out of it and to tell how the brain is learning the visual concept. I hope you understood. Do you provide the EEG data publicly? So yeah, so see, I mean, the EEG data publicly means, again, here I would like to tell few things too, because many of you are young researchers, you are learning. So I mean, okay, from my group, only few things, I mean, few EEG data we have publicly made available, but there are many data with us we have not made available because of few reasons. First thing is that when somebody publish the data, that means they have extracted everything out of this data according to their group, and they made it available, right? So the kind of data that I'm talking about, the blindness and all this thing, how the brain is learning. So these data is very interesting data. That's why we have not made publicly available. First thing. Second thing, I always tell everyone. So when you don't have the data, always we work on the free available data. But in the biomedical domain or the healthcare domain, when you acquire data, there are many opponents are there. So when you are as an experimenter, you are recording your own data, then you know that what kind of mistake you have done, and accordingly during your processing, you can take those into account. So I, even to my student, I always tell, don't rely on others' data, don't work on others' data, try to get your own data and work on it. But yes, you can test the data of others, but don't use all this data solely for your purpose. So that's why always it's not a good idea to use others' data, public level data, because there they upload the data, but they don't tell many things about the data. Okay. Any other questions you have?
Mm,
No question.
yeah, I think no questions from the participant side. So thank you so much, sir, for a wonderful talk. I think it was truly inspiring for all of us. So I hope participants may think in that direction, that how to conduct research and whatever, and how research should be